Hello, YouTube. My name's Chad Finn, and this is LeagueWise, your home for League of Legends DFS. I know it's been a couple weeks, so let me update you, or for those of you that didn't watch a video yesterday, let me update you on how things have been going. I've been taking care of and closing off a few things so I can turn this into a full-time gig, but I still have been playing every day. Currently, I am 96-34 in game picks, which has helped me to earn $3,091.40 so far this summer split. I've come close on taking a couple big tournaments down in the process. I have taken two tourneys down, two of the $4 ones, but had to split those pots. It is what it is. I realize that doesn't sound like much, but like I said in past videos, I'm not a pro. I don't play max lineups in tournaments. I'm an average DFS player, just like most of you. And I want to share with you my system and how I do compete, I think, fairly well with many of the pros out there. I just don't go all in and play 150 lineups and max out every possible combination trying to find a winning one. I don't enjoy playing that way. That's just how it is. In these videos moving forward, I'm going to be breaking down a single game, giving you my favorite picks for every team on the slate. Moving forward, my game picks and complete game breakdowns of every game on the slate for the majority of all DraftKings tourneys that are LEC, LPL, LCK, and LCS. Those breakdowns and picks will all be produced and posted on my new Patreon page, which you can join by clicking the link in the description below. Also, don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't already done so, please take the time to subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I want to turn this into a full-time gig. I've gotten a ton of positive feedback, which, by the way, I want to thank each and every one of you. It's been truly humbling, all the kind words, both in posts and private messages that I've gotten from you guys. I can't thank you enough. For the purpose of these daily videos, we're going to always be taking a look at the first scheduled game of that slate in detail, utilizing the information that you can find on my Patreon page. Once I've gone through the game one breakdown, I will then give you my top plays from each team or the players most likely to carry that game, assuming that team wins. This is basically... so you guys know this is basically how I break down each match while making my picks, and this is what works for me. And I think my record of 96-34 so far this summer split speaks for itself. That's not me patting myself on the back. But if there's an advantage to watching my videos and joining my Patreon page, it's 96-34. That is a high pick rate. So let's go to Series 1. This is my matchup breakdown capsule. I do this for every game. I've done this for every game before I even started the Patreon page. This is how I break things down to making a pick. In Series 1, we have KT Rolster versus Soleil One Prince, which is a battle of 7th and 8th place teams, respectively. As you go through the breakdown capsule, you can see these teams are very evenly matched. Both teams have a series record of 1-3, with only one loss separating their game records. Gold differential is pretty even, as both teams. It's pretty even for both teams, which shows me, honestly, both teams have been pretty bad in the early game. This is a stat that I feel is fairly important. If you watch games and track them, the team that has the gold lead at 15 minutes has a higher percentage rate or chance of winning that game, because that is typically where you are in the midst of a snowball or that snowball advantage is just about to take place and happen. So teams that can build that 15-minute gold differential, they get advantage leads, they get experience leads. It is what propels the games, the winning team forward is what I'm trying to say. Which in this case, when you look at the gold differential, it's pretty even. That's even supported further by the below average gold per minute score. In looking at the damage per minute, KT Rolster does have a slight advantage, ever so slight, which does possibly, it means that it could mean that they, well, we already know this, they tend to play more aggressively than Soleil 1 does, which presents a potential win condition for KT Rolster in this game, I believe. And as you continue through, first tower percentage is pretty equal, as are kills and deaths. Nothing really outside of that 100, except for that 166 per minute damage advantage that KT Rolster has. At this point, in breaking games down, I'll normally make a first prediction on who I think should be favored before looking at the odds. Okay. And I do that to just kind of gear where my thinking is and the odds makers' thinking is. When it comes to picking games or gambling, if at any point you think you're smarter than the odds makers, you're probably headed towards a losing streak. I don't believe I'm smarter than the odds makers, but I do like to see where I'm at with the odds makers. I tend to find that when I'm making that first projection in line with what the odds makers are thinking, if I haven't hit a win streak, I am on the verge possibly of a win streak. And in this case, it looked to me as I did this, going back to before I looked at the odds. I know the odds are up there now, but before I looked at the odds, this looked pretty close to me, where I figured KT Rolster being slight favorites. And as you can see, the odds makers agreed in this case, KT Rolster being favored. Maybe I consider that a little more. I considered that's still slightly favored in my opinion. Also, you'll notice that I use 2 online books for odds, and I average them together. I do this because I feel it gives me a better W Pro or win projection, win pro, however you want to call it. That win projection percentage in this case, according to the odds makers, KT Rolster has a 64.27% chance of winning, and Soleil 1 Prince has a 42.37% chance of winning the series. And I'll be honest, after my initial analysis, I expected this one to be closer to even or a pick'em. But KT having a 21.9% better chance of winning is considerable. Like I said, I don't think I'm smarter than the odds makers. That doesn't mean the odds makers are always right, of course. But that's considerable enough to make me think. It's considerably enough or more different from what I was initially thinking for me to think that the odds makers might know something that I don't. So the question to answer now is, where does KT Rolster create that separation to justify a 21.9% win pro disadvantage, or differential, I should say. And in looking through this whole thing, I mean, being so equal, clear across the board, I kind of fall on this one that this series is going to come down to 2 players, and that's aiming and hybrid in the bot lane, which is tough because these players are equally matched as well and are real similar in play styles. In comparing, I think when I went back and I looked at this split and the entire spring split. And then, just for this entire season 10, I think the biggest difference is their champion pools. I expect Aphelios in Ezreal. I expect that they will be ban priorities for both teams. And both teams are going to try to force the other bot laner onto less comfortable champs, if that makes sense. If that's the case, Aiming has shown a deeper champion pool here in Season 10, which should give him an advantage, I believe. I also think Tussin is probably slightly better than Secret at support. And I do believe Flawless is probably the more active or more aggressive jungler, which could come into play for dives early game, giving Aiming an advantage that he can snowball into the mid and into late games to carry. In the end, I can't find any reason to go against the odds in this one, so I'm going to stick with the favorite, KT Rolster. I believe they're going to take this series 2-1. And that's how I break down these games. And this is what you get when you become a Patreon by following the link below or joining through the link below. You'll get this type of breakdown with every game. I'm also available for questions. You can ask me any question that you want. I'll get to it and answer it as quickly as possible. Like I said, I'm turning this into a full-time job, so the majority of the day I'm in front of this computer. I'm doing my research. I'm trying to find advantages and looking to share those advantages with you. The final part you'll notice of the breakdown sheet is my Bovada betting tip. Bovada is a site that I use to place my bets every night on games. I also talk about that on my Patreon page. That betting tip is for Patreons only. If you want access to the betting tip and this module and then the next module I'm about to show you, or the next tool, whatever you want to call it, if you want access, you can gain access by joining, which you can join by following the link below. The cost is $9.99 a month, $9.99 per month. If you utilize the tools and the information correctly that I provide you, take advantage of asking me questions when you have them. I can't promise you that I'll always have the answer. I can promise you I'm not going to guess. If I don't know, I'm just going to let you I don't know. If I disagree, I'm going to tell you I disagree, and I'm going to let you know why. But if you use this information correctly, the membership should pay for itself multiple times over. Like I said, since season 10 has started, this is the exact system I'm using. I've made, what was it? I forgot. I've made $3,000, just under $3,100. All right, so the system works. It's just a matter of jumping in and joining the party and utilizing and taking advantage of the information that's there. The next tool that I use is what I call my positional carry rankings. This is a edited sheet normally. Before I get into that, basically what this does, and this is assuming that each team wins. In a winning condition, this tells me what players are most likely to carry a winning game. I provide you with the ranking of each position. I'm just showing you the number one positions because that's the next part of the video that I'm going to share, my favorite plays or top plays for each team in a winning condition. But I provide you with the ranking of each role of every team on the slate in case you decide to go against my picks, which is your choice. But if you haven't been paying attention, I am 96-34 so far this split. You can also, like I said, get those picks or access to those every day from every slate by joining me, or I should say for most every slate. Life happens. I can't promise you that I'm going to cover everything, but I'm going to cover a lot. but you can get access to those by joining the Patreon page below. Back to my top plays from each team. Keep in mind, like I said, normally this form is has each role ranked 1 to 6, 1 being most likely to carry, 6 being least likely to carry. And so, these do go against the general rule that's out there that all the pros are going to tell you, that everybody that's making a video is going to tell you most likely to carry is bot mid. Bot mid. That's who you want your captains to be. Bot mid. Salaries don't allow that. And even if that is the general rule, and in most cases that is the rule, it's not always the rule. And this has helped me in the tournaments that I've taken down. Very rarely has that number 1 slot been the captain. You can also use this to determine the captain role. I cover this in more detail, but when you choose your captains, don't just consider the captain's score. Consider his counterpart or that additional laner that you have to play. So if you make an ADC your captain, don't just consider what you think he might score. Also consider what the other ADC is going to score and combine those. You should want those 2 players to score as high as possible. Meaning, if I have an ADC that scores 150, but the other ADC I put in only scores 60, giving me 210, I'd have been better off going with a mid laner that scored 130 as a captain and the other one coming in at 120 as a regular, or however those numbers work. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. If not, join my Patreon page and you can ask me that question directly and I'll go into more detail. Also, so this is a sheet that I use instead of score projections, which I find in most cases to just be relative. And I really feel it's a professional's way of putting regular players like us in a box. It allows them to know what a majority of the field is going to play because they are following their projections. I don't provide projections. I may in the future, if I ever develop an algorithm that I feel is accurate enough to share, but this works for me. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe below if you haven't already. But that's enough of small talk. Let's get on with Finn's faves. Assuming, like I said, that each team wins, these are my favorite plays. For KT Rolster, I like aiming at ADC. For Soleil One Prince, I like Keen. Is it Keen, I believe is how you pronounce it? Their mid laner. For Top Esports, I like Knight at mid. For Li Ning Gaming, give me Light at ADC. Vici Gaming, give me iBoy at ADC. That pains me. I believe iBoy is the worst ADC in the LPL. If you want to know what you can bet on the fact that iBoy is going to get caught out all series long tonight. I just gave you a little more insight. E-Star, give me their ADC as well. Wink, who contrastly is one of the best ADCs in the LPL. So then SKTT1, give me Teddy at ADC. And Gen G, give me Ruler at ADC. One last thing that I want to share with you real quick that I should have typed it in here. But if these are the projected starters. If I have confirmed these, I will type in parentheses confirmed. Normally right here, this would say unconfirmed. I forgot to do that today. I'll go ahead and do that in tomorrow's. If it's an unconfirmed lineup, and even if it's confirmed, you should always be checking lineups. The LCK is hard. You might get the first game's starting lineups. It's hard. Sometimes when you're making a roster move, if there are multiple options and you're just not comfortable with who the starter is going to be, it's a good idea to avoid that position and look to fill that position elsewhere. But that's it. There you have it. That is this edition of LeagueWise. This is our new format. This is what it's going to look like going forward. I hope you liked it. I hope it was informative. And if you want all this information for nearly every DraftKings slate, like I said, join me on Patreon by following me through the link below. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching LeagueWise. This is Chad Finn saying good luck, good night, stay safe, and as always, see you next time on the Rift.